The HDF5 library has a new feature coming called the Onion VFD. This video is a tutorial for the Onion VFD. First, the VFD is the last step in the data I/O process before writing data to the storage. Or look at the other way. If we are reading data from the storage, VFD will be the first step in the data I/O process. The VFD supports multiple drivers such as seg2, family, and MPIO. The Onion VFD is one of the drivers. It's basically the version control for an HDF5 file. This new feature will be in the 1.13 release of the HDF5 library. The library provides two new functions to use the Onion VFD. These two new functions are for file access property list. To enable the Onion VFD, a user passes an instance of the structure h5fd onion filepo info t to the h5p set filepo onion function. The most important field in this structure is revision ID. Here is the explanation for each field of the structure. You may pause the video to read the details. This piece of code is an example on how to open and modify an HDF5 file with the Onion VFD. It sets the file access property list to the Onion VFD and opens the file to modify it. Then all the changes to the file will be preserved in the most recent revision. The library also provides a new API function to query the number of revisions for an Onion file. A user does not need to open the file. Just use this function to find out the number of revisions. This example shows how to open a file of a specified revision using the same instance of the structure h5fd onion filepo info t as the previous example. As a summary, we are providing three new API functions for the Onion VFD. The first two functions are for the file access property list. The last one queries the number of revisions for an Onion file. We have several tools supporting the Onion VFD. This example command here displays the contents of the first revision of an Onion file using h5dump. You can see the data of the first revision is different from the original file. With h5dump, you can display the number of revisions for an Onion file. h5diff can compare two revisions of the same file and show differences between them. From the fourth column, you can see the difference of the data values is 16. Another useful tool is h5Repack. It can finalize certain revisions for an HDF5 file. You can see the data values are different from the original file here. That concludes our introduction to the new feature, the Onion VFD. For questions and comments, please contact our help desk. Thank you very much.
Okay, are there any questions about Onion?
Just to understand, it's still, now we have two files, but not more, yeah?
Right now, yes.
So then if we do a copy, you have to know which file, you must copy both.
Yes.
So we need an H5 copy as well, or not?
No, HDF copy is for copying things into files.
No.
It's not just for copying.
No, I'm just thinking someone does a CP, they might miss the one file, no?
Oh, but that's true for other file drivers as well, right? Like if you use the split file,
Yeah.
then you would have a metadata file and a raw file, and you have to know, or a family driver, right? You'd have multiple files. So when you use a multi-file VFD, you just
You have to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't support. I mean, we could, but where does that stop? Right? How many things do you support in terms of all the file system tools?
We have to think of this then. Yeah.
Because we thought about this already for vol connectors, right? For the vol connectors, we did implement H5F delete so that you could delete things and have it clean up after itself. But we didn't do that for arbitrary file operations.
Okay. And for the old people in the audience, it's not really like VAX, because the VAX versioning was, you had copies, so many copies as you had revisions, I think. Someone who's used the VAX VMS.
I mean, I think one of the things in the RFC mentions that as a possibility.
Okay.
But there was only enough funding to implement one type.
Okay.
And that was the one that we picked, was the one that didn't touch the file.
Right, but you could do this after the fact if you wish. With the last example that Ray gave was use H5 Repack and then specify the revision number, and that will wrap that particular revision into a standalone HDF5 file.
Right, or just copy the file, call it onion.1, and then when it opens up the next one, it's onion.2, and you can just do it manually if you wanted.
Hey, could you tell us about the use case that triggers these feature requests?
Anybody who wants to track how an HDF5 file is modified over time could use this. Like, I think pharma companies tend to do this sort of thing, where as people add to the file, they care about the provenance of every single change, because if you don't know where something came from, then that could be billions of dollars. So they care very deeply about this sort of stuff. So anybody who really cares about which version created what thing, or maybe if you have a software processing chain that adds analysis time after time, maybe then you care about it.
So then my question probably for someone else. So those changes that are in the Onion file, are they related to groups, datasets, attributes? So I can, so whatever is written in that file, I can say that change is actually related to some dataset or things, or I need some special tool that's going to give me.
You can use H5diff as you showed, but if you want to manually inspect that file, the stuff that we're writing.
No, I don't want manually. I'm just something that's going to give me information like what you said, for example, someone added data to something or changed some attribute value. It'll tell me that's the attribute that was changed.
Yes, the H5diff does, yeah.
I noticed that when you use H5diff, twice Onion VFD was specified as VFD to open the file. Can be improved because you can try, and I remember tools tried different drivers to open the file, so it's kind of annoying to
Yeah. But the problem is, like, I mean, like Sec2 would, a lot of things will pass, right, if you open it.
Yeah, but for Sec2 you will not specify second version. So it's kind of, the tool line becomes really overloaded with the VFDs. It can be, input can be simplified. It's just suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, it could. You just have to change the semantics of it. Because right now, if you just left it alone and used the default, it'd be Sec2, and that would work. It would open. You'd just be comparing it against version 0.
Yeah, but when you specify Sec2, you do not specify second version. You want to...
Right. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I actually want to have some clarification. I believe Andy asked that if Onion VFD can prevent or kind of help with file corruption.
For the original file, yes. For the original file, yes, because it isn't touched. So if you are worried about corrupting your original data, like if your original data is sacrosanct, like it's some very valuable sample that you can never reconstruct, like these things at the light sources, right? Like that may be somebody's protein crystal that cost them a lot of money to make. Then that file is not touched. But things that come after it, if the writer dies, then you can wind up the same problems that we have with anything else.
With Onion VFD, how many files we're creating? So there will be two files.
An Onion file and the original file are open.
So it's not in one file?
No.
Okay.
That was an option, but it was not pursued.
But there might be a chance, let's say you have 5 versions in the Onion file, and the 6th somehow got corrupted. I believe you can read up to version 5 without any problems.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
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 So if 6 is corrupt, no problem. You
Right.
can still go to 5, yeah. In a way, yeah, if you want to interpret it that way, yeah.
But not for the thing that you, like, I think when people are worried about corruption, they're worried about what I'm writing right now, right? And that version could potentially be messed up because you would have incorrect metadata, like incompletely written metadata. Now, what's in the Onion file, just so it's clear, is like that is all HDF5 stuff, right? Like if you were to look at that, like with your binary eyes and look at it, it's HDF5 things, and all the stuff that we specified for the Onion indexes and stuff like that they're specified as file format objects, so that putting this into the regular library as a thing is much more straightforward.
And the last question, can early versions of H5 dump read file created with Onion VFD? Or,
the older ones wouldn't get the Onion stuff. They would just get the original file.
Okay.
Right.